Hey, it's Jason at Fireplace Blowers. Jim and I wanted to shoot a quick video here. We get asked quite often how to properly diagnose a defective blower kit. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the process that we typically take to kind of diagnose the defective piece in your kit. So what you're seeing in front of us now is a typical blower kit. Not every blower kit is wired this way, but what you'll typically find is that you've got the black and green leads, which are your black and ground lead. Those are typically attached directly to the power cord. And then the white lead off of the motor, if you follow that, it typically goes into a temperature sensor first, which is what that silver piece is there. We'll show you that. And if I follow that lead, that goes into a thermostat sensor, comes out the other side of the thermostat sensor and back to the cord. So the important thing to note there is that the temperature sensor and the speed controller are both in line, okay? And so in this particular case, usually one of four things are the issue in determining what's wrong with the blower kit if your blower's not turning on, okay? Either you've got a defective power source, you've got no power to where your blower is getting plugged into. The blower itself is defective, the temperature sensor, or the rheostat. So I'm gonna have Jim kind of come in here first. What I can tell you for the sake of the video is that we've confirmed that there actually is power to this power source. Okay, so we've ruled out that number one. So let's walk you through what Jim and I typically do in the shop here. First thing we'll check is actually confirming that the blower is actually working properly, okay? And to do that, what we wanna do is we wanna bypass everything. So we're essentially basically gonna hook the power cord directly up to the blower. Okay, so Jim's gonna step in here now. He's gonna disconnect two of the leads from the motor. He's gonna disconnect the power cord, okay? And he's gonna basically take the power cord and connect the black and white leads directly up to the motor. These can get connected in any order, so. And you can see as soon as he plugs it into an actual power source we've confirmed has power, the blower runs. Okay, so that's really the first thing we've kind of ruled out is the blower's operating fine in this case. Okay, so we'll just give Jim a minute here and we'll rewire up everything the way it was prior. Again, off the motor, we typically have a ground wire, which is attached directly to the ground lead off the power cord. The black lead off of the motor typically gets attached directly to the power cord as well. And in our case, the white lead on this blower kit sits in line with the rheostat and the temperature sensor. So the first thing we're gonna do is we'll test the thermostat sensor. So we like ruling out one thing at a time. So Jim's gonna apply some heat to the temperature sensor. You may or may not catch this in the video, but there's usually a faint clicking noise that'll indicate that the switch turned on. And we can go over to that rheostat. We'll actually turn that on.
Do we know it's up?
And it's all the way up. So Jim has it in the on position and we're still not getting anything out of the blower. And so we did hear a faint clicking noise in that temperature sensor. Something important. These are essentially mechanical relays. Okay, so they're usually bimetal relays. He kind of like opens and closes just a mechanism. And so what we're gonna do first is to rule out that the temperature sensor isn't the issue, is we'll have Jim
Unplug it.
Yeah, so good safety feature. Unplug the blower first before you do any of this. And the reason we do that is in the event you were to disconnect any wires, let's just say you had a loose strand of wire somewhere, maybe some of your wiring was frayed. If any of that were to touch metal, while there was still power to the blower, that rheostat here is gonna pop. These are not internally protected, they're not fused, so that thing is gonna pop. So if you run into a situation where you hear a pop or you smell a burning noise, chances are it's that guy right there. So that's usually indicative of a failed rheostat. So first thing Jim did, we unplugged the blower and we'll bypass the sensor here. So to do that,
Well, the rheostat first.
yeah, we'll do the thermostat first.
Okay.
And so when Jim disconnects these here, what we're gonna find out here is that, just be careful, the leads can be a little tough. So In this case, we're left with a couple of like female terminals. If you flip that sensor over, Jim, the sensor itself in this case has a couple of male leads. So what we're left with is 2 bare female leads. We need to bridge those wires together somehow. So we've made a really quick jumper wire. Actually, I don't even know if we brought the right jumper wire in. So let's, why don't we make one really quick?
Okay.
So we actually had the wrong jumper wire. So Jim's just gonna, we'll whip up a male to male jumper wire. Doesn't take much, just a 6-inch piece of wire we'll strip on both ends. We'll grab a couple of male terminals. You can technically do this with a paper clip or a bare strip of wire. Don't always recommend that. You know, you risk the chance again of grounding it out. So if that or that rheostat was good, if you accidentally touch metal, you're going to potentially burn out something that's in working condition. So it doesn't hurt to have this. So we're just going to basically place that male to male kind of jumper wire in place with those 2 female leads. And again, what we're doing is we're bridging the gap where the thermostat sensor used to be. And so what we've done now is we've actually taken the thermostat sensor out of the mix, right? So no heat is required. In this case, if Jim puts power back to the blower and turns that rheostat on, we should have power. But that's not what we're seeing here. So we've already ruled out the blower. I think in this case, I think it's fair to say that we've ruled out the temperature sensor as the source of the problem. So I think the next step would be to, let's bypass that rheostat.
Unplug it.
So, yep, we're gonna unplug it again, just for safety precautions. And I think in this case, yep. So what we're doing is we're bringing in another rheostat that we know is good. So that was what we think is the potentially defective one. We're plugging that back in. Okay, Jim, go ahead and apply power. And there you go. That rheostat was already in the on position, and the blower is now working again. So just to kind of recap, again, 4 things. Check your power source, make sure you've got power. Just to rule out the blower, that's obviously the more expensive of the piece of the equation, so we like ruling that out first. In our case, the blower wasn't the issue. We moved on, we bypassed the temperature sensor. So just disconnect the 2 wires going to your temperature sensor, bridge those together. We found that by removing that didn't fix the problem, so then we moved over to the rheostat. And when we did that, the blower's back up and running again.
We can put the sensor back in running.
Yeah. And so while we've got you here, we'll just put that sensor back in line where it used to be. And so we'll remove the jumper wire that we had placed there. We'll put the temperature sensor. Now that the temperature sensor's back in, now the temperature sensor is still hot, which is why the blower. If that temperature sensor had cooled down, the blower would not turn on until some heat had been applied. In this case, you can see it's that metal surface of that silicone sensor. So again, your fireplace, your blower kit may or may not be wired. Usually in most cases, 90% of the time, this is how most fan kits are wired. So pretty easy, unless you've got a more complicated like control module setup. It would be fairly easy for the layman's person to kind of easily diagnose their blower kit. And what it does is it's going to prevent you from purchasing a brand new blower kit. You know, that temperature sensor, for example, is, you know, $21 or $22 depending on the sensor that you need. Same thing with the rheostat. Depends on which ones you need. But that's much cheaper than having to replace a potentially couple $100 blower. So if you guys have any questions, email us at support@fireplaceblowersonline.com, or you can call us at 262-989-4882. Thanks again, everybody.